Spoiler alert, the following podcast includes discussions on film that may potentially, intentionally or inadvertently, reveal plot twists, character traits, story details, up to and including endings that might otherwise be considered spoilers. Proceed at your own risk.
You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
Christmas Eve is the scariest damn night of the year. Did you hear something?
What you looking at?
Hello, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry motherfucking Christmas. Oh, Lord.
That's some severe Yuletide greetings there.
Yeah, tell me about it. I mean, I am Batman, so.
I'm the goddamn Batman.
I'm the goddamn Batman. I love
Merry
that.
Christmas.
I had that for my wallpaper for a long time.
Merry Christmas, motherfuckers. And welcome to the newest episode of Moviesucktastic. This is Scott and Joey coming to you. Joey and Scott. That better?
That's much better.
Joey and Scott. This is Joey and Scott. And this is episode number 95.
5, yes. Getting close. Getting close.
I'm not paying attention now. And this is our Christmas Spectacular, and we're going to be covering the newly released Silent Night Killer Santa Claus. Which
That's right.
I think is awesome.
Now, how do we want to do this? We want to talk a little bit about the first 1984 film, or just jump back and forth?
Well, we're going to jump back and forth, but I want to let's start out with just the basics here. Okay. Back in the good old days, for those of you that are too young to remember the 80s from like at least a semi grown-up standpoint. I mean, because 84, that's now what, 30, 40,
28.
30, 30 years
ago.
ago. I'm rounding 30 years ago.
Fine.
All right, so there's a portion of our audience that wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
And back in 1984, this was a magical time. They released a film called Silent Night, Deadly Night that was about a person dressed up as Santa Claus that kills, not Santa Claus himself, but a person dressed as Santa Claus killing people. This caused great controversy. It was all over, huge. It was all over the news. The media was covering it. Parents groups and religious groups were up in arms. And the film was actually pulled from the theaters despite doing quite well because of the controversy involved.
Yeah. I looked at its opening weekend, and it cost $1 million, and it made almost $2 million its opening weekend. Now, in 84, that's pretty fucking good, especially since it made almost double its budget the same weekend.
And that was a limited release, too.
Yep. Yes, it was.
It didn't go that wide. The whole idea was supposed to start limited, then go wide. And so much negative publicity for it, they pulled it from the theaters. Those were simpler times, friends.
And the runtime that they got back then was only 79 minutes.
Not a long film.
No, we've since got the uncut version, which is 85 minutes. And if you have the uncut DVD like I do, you can always tell when it's an uncut scene because the quality of the scene looks VHS poor. It looks very bad. Because I actually rewatched it to prepare for this episode. And
I watched it 20 or 30 times when I wrote the article, which is how I do my movie writing thing. So I pretty much memorized the film.
And it's not a hard film to memorize either. I would imagine that it is a good film to try and write an article on, because it for whatever reason, at least with me, it really just stuck in my head. Even years later, rewatching it for this podcast, I could pretty much tell you beginning to end exactly, and it's also fresh in my head. But it's one of those films that you absorb very easily somehow. It's not a very complex plot, first of all.
Well, I mean, the basic plot. This is a film that starts out at the beginning. We meet our Santa Claus killer, and this is the Silent Night, Deadly Night, the 1984 film. We meet little
Billy.
And Billy. How did I forget Billy? We meet little Billy back when he's a little kid, and they're visiting his uncle or grandfather. And he's like catatonic, and then when the parents leave, catatonic grandpa snaps the kid's hand and says, "Santa Claus will kill you!" And then by the time the parents come back, he's pretending again, and then of course, just so happens that night he ends up watching his parents killed and the attempted rape of his mother, the death of his mother and father at the hands of a robber dressed as Santa Claus. And needless to say, that fucks him up for life. Growing up in a orphanage full of nuns, where he confuses sex with guilt and sin, and all, well, which is not hard to confuse him, but it's driven home by the nuns, obviously. Right. So he grows up a little twisted, and then has the luck to take a job at a toy store during Christmas, and it all goes downhill from there. That's pretty much it.
Mother Superior. Now.
Jump the gun. Sorry, I had to.
It's okay. I just want to get this out before I forget. Yeah. I'm rewatching Silent Night, Deadly Night, the one from '84. Mother Superior, she pops up on the screen.
Jump gun. Sorry.
Should I wait?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, every time she pops up on the screen, I'm like, she reminds me of someone. She reminds me of someone. And then it hits me. You remember a few years ago when Rudy Giuliani dressed in drag?
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
She looks like a cross between Rudy Giuliani and Robert Duvall.
That's a slight comparison, isn't it?
It is crazy. And I'm watching her talk, and I'm watching her facial expressions. I'm like, that's fucking Rudy Giuliani. It's Rudy Giuliani in drag from 2000. 1999, whatever it was. Anyway, now, I'm sorry. I had to get that out. I'm done.
No, by all means. Two other famous people that didn't appear in drag in this film are what's his real name? Britt Leach.
Is that the father from Weird Science?
The father from Weird Science. Thank you. That's probably what I was going to use as a reference there. He's been in a lot of other stuff besides that. Mm-hmm. But he plays the toy store owner, and when we say toy store, we mean a warehouse with metal racks that they threw toys up on and then covered with. Yeah. It's like the worst fake toy store ever.
Yeah, it's pretty.
If your parents took you to that toy store, you'd cry.
I want to go home.
You'd cry, and you wouldn't want any toys. And also Linnea Quigley.
Oh, Linnea Quigley.
Back in the early days before she started calling herself Linnea. And she's in the famous antler impalement scene, which I wrote about in the article in Butcher Knives and Body Counts. Google it on Amazon, or Google it or Amazon it, whatever. Which was improvised during the filming.
Right.
And
it was improvised. Oh, I didn't know that.
It was improvised. They were filming it, and the directors, these antlers, and they on the set they threw some stuff together. It was not planned when they started filming that night.
Huh.
It's one of those things that just came together, and it's, I think, one of the best scenes in that film.
Yes. Well, it's crazy that they could improvise so quickly and then get it done prosthetic-wise, trying to film with different angles and lighting. It's just, let's just do it.
Well, don't forget the prosthetics that are close-ups. They can shoot that later, but the actual, putting her up onto it and all that was
sure.
all done. That, yeah. I mean, inserts can be done later, but the basic filming of it happened just on a whim, so that wasn't actually planned. But it was guerrilla filmmaking, that kind of stuff. And the director, if memory serves me correct from my article, he did Bible documentaries.
Before this?
Before and after. He's done like a bunch of them for National Geographics, I think, or somebody like that. And he did documentaries on the Ark, and kind of the reality documentaries, not little vignettes.
Fine.
And
Fine.
And somehow he just got involved in this. Somebody called him, asked if he wanted to write something, to do something.
And
Yeah, sure.
the irony of it all is that the religious groups and whatnot, the same people that would probably be impressed by his other documentaries made him. They took his movie out of the theater.
Yeah, and they weren't the only ones that are upset. Do you have that clip of
Siskel and Ebert?
Siskel and Ebert? Yes.
Yes, I do. Here it is.
Siskel, Gene, apparently not a fan of the film.
No, and it just goes to show that years later, just how tame, really, Silent Night, Deadly Night is. I mean, don't get me wrong, it does have some gore, but it's not the bloodiest film you'll ever see. It really isn't.
And you know what? I think you'll hear it when he says it. Actually, I won't even say anything until after he says it, because I'll point out the real reason why the few people that did see this film and reacted so strongly to it actually did. But go ahead and play that.
Okay.
And see if you agree with me on this too.
All right.
You don't have it queued up.
No, I got it. It's right here.
Coming up next at the movies, a film that dreams about a red Christmas.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house, not a creature was stirring. All through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
Our X-ray subject this week, the controversial Santa Claus killer movie, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Actually, there have been two controversies about Silent Night, Deadly Night. Even before the film was released a couple of weeks ago, its TV ad campaign caused a furor with its brief depiction of an axe-carrying Santa Claus. The distributor of this film, TriStar Pictures, which is co-owned by Columbia Pictures, CBS, and Home Box Office, pulled the commercial out of release after a week of protests by parents led by a Milwaukee group. Of course, commercials like that usually die out after a week anyway, so thanks a lot, fellas. But there's no question in my mind that the showing of Santa with an axe on free TV and commercials is sick and sleazy and mean-spirited. So let's repeat the names of the people who did it. TriStar Pictures, co-owned by Columbia Pictures, CBS, and Home Box Office. Shame on you. Now, as for the film, I've got news for you. It's worse than the TV ads. Telling a typical mad slasher story about a boy who witnesses his father being shot and his mother being stabbed to death by a maniac in a Santa Claus suit. So now the traumatized kid grows up and is asked to work in a toy store as Santa one Christmas, and it freaks him out. He impales one naked girl on a set of antlers, spears another woman with a bow and arrow, and another with a knife, and yes, we even see Santa give one little girl a bloody knife as a gift and threaten another little girl with physical punishment as he sits on his lap. You might think that it would be funny, Roger, or it's played as quite thick in the film. So let me repeat the names of the writer and director and producers of this film. Michael Hickey wrote the film, Charles E. Sellier Jr. directed it, and Ira Richard Barmack produced it. You people have nothing to be proud of, even if you made a few bucks off of all the negative publicity. Your profits truly are blood money. And Silent Night, Deadly Night now has the distinction of joining I Spit on Your Grave as one of the two most contemptible films I've seen. And I don't mean to think it's campy. It really is quite awful.
I'm glad you mentioned those people's names, because quite frequently they think, gee, we'll make this exploitation film, we'll be able to buy our Mercedes and live in Bel Air, and nobody will ever know what we did. But I would like to hear them explain to their children and their grandchildren that it's only a movie. I think that would be a real interesting explanation.
So, it's blood money.
Blood money!
You've made a blood money film.
I didn't double take what he said. Really? And by the way, he didn't like I Spit on Your Grave? What's up with that?
And that film was made, 6-7 years earlier? Or even earlier than that. Was that an early 70s film? Like a 72, 73, 74?
That's 70s. Oh, yeah, it's early 70s. Yeah. And there's no comparison.
None
whatsoever.
The subject matter is completely different.
Films.
Well, right.
I mean, low-budget horror film, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Ebert's bad enough. Gene's bad enough with his blood money thing, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Then Ebert's got to jump in. Yeah, these guys think they can just do these films and buy their Mercedes and live in. Yeah. Okay,
Like,
Yeah, $1 million budget, guerrilla film. Yeah, these guys have Mercedes or cruising around and shit. What are you doing? Yeah, these guys are living off the land, living high on the hog. and then they'll have to explain to their children and grandchildren about this. So, well, their children and grandchildren probably shouldn't be watching the fucking film.
Right.
It ain't a cartoon at prime time. This is an adult horror film. Why does anybody owe anybody an explanation to this?
Exactly.
I mean, in the 80s, now let's get it straight now too. The 80s was a big resurgence against horror films. I mean, you Evil Dead. You were seeing the 70s exploitation bleeding in the mainstream 80s. So the 80s had slasher films, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, you name it. They were becoming franchises. Horror was becoming mainstream, whereas it was really more exploitational and your kind of what do you call it, grindhouse type films and stuff. Yeah. It was still a subculture. The subculture was becoming mainstream, and there was a huge push against it by the powers that be, by the parents groups, by the respectable people in society, and the older people that ran everything. That suddenly the stuff that was always in the background is now being sold on television and now being sold everywhere. There's a huge push against it. That's around the same time period of Morton Downey Jr. with his whole crusade against horror films. You were having a resurgence of the right wing and religious right wing talk radio was just starting to come into its own as well. The angry white male was taking over the country. All that bullshit coming together, but blood money, despicable.
You might have made a few bucks off of this, but you should be ashamed of yourself. What's wrong
let me correct
with you?
myself. I double checked back. The director, Charles Sellier, I think he pronounced it Jr., he was a producer of a lot of television, and a lot of the television was religious-based television, were documentaries on stuff like the origins of Christ, that kind of thing.
Wow.
And the writers only did this film, and technically the second one. That's the only thing they've ever written. That was like,
really?
Okay, we're done. We're done. That's it.
We're done.
We're done.
Hey.
Done. We had it. We did it. Now, I like the film.
The original one.
Yeah, we're still talking about the original.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's a classic. It's your classic horror splatter. Your 80s splatter punk type film.
No.
If you didn't, what?
Splatterpunk, that's a different thing.
It's a splatter movie.
Maybe kind of, yeah. Well,
okay.
it's a slasher. It's not a splatter film.
Night,
it's a slasher. Not a
slasher.
splatter film.
You're right.
Slasher
You're right.
film.
I'm
okay.
wrong. You're right. But it is your late night, midnight type, Cinemax after hours slasher film. Something you'd see late at night. And if you grew up in the 80s like Scott and I did, this is the type of film you watched. And this is the type of film that you liked. And no matter what, even in this day, you still like it.
Now, let's be fair. Now, let me underline something here. I was 10 or 11 when this film came out.
Yeah.
So I vividly remember I wasn't watching slasher films at age 10. I'll admit that right now. I got into that later in life.
I have to say
14 or 15. 13, 14.
I was watching horror films a lot younger than I should have been.
I was a late bloomer. I was a late bloomer on that regard. But
I definitely, I don't know how I got away with it. I would end up watching, and again, maybe it's because I grew up in a European household where the rules were much more lenient. I don't know. I'm serious. My parents really never really pressured me to say, you can't watch this.
My parents were the same. I think a lot of parents at the time period were the same way, where, again, first generation having cable in the house, and it was such a new thing that the idea of supervising what your children are watching, I think, was on the back burner of the brain. When it came to like the softcore porn that comes on at 2:00 in the morning, they were aware of that, but horror being shown and watching that, I think we were exposed to stuff that you really had to go out of your way to see in generations before that. Right. I myself just never really got into horror films up until a certain age, but once I did, I exploded. But even though I wasn't watching this type of horror film at age 10, I do remember it being on the news and actually being quite disturbed by the imagery that they would show on the news.
I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I remember. It was headline news. They were pushing. Oh, a horrible film out about Santa Claus and the public is not happy. And the reason I think Gene there was, and he says it, near the end of his thing, he says, "Oh, you'd think it would be played for a comedy or a parody, but this is quite a serious film." And ironically, the reason he hates the film as much as they do, is the reason both of them do, is it's not played for. I mean, it's a very dark humor in the film.
Right.
Again, when he goes to the little girl and gives her the bloody box knife as a gift because she's been good.
Right.
I mean, apart from that, and every now and then where he goes naughty.
Or how about when he's everything's great until the Christmas season rolls around and he starts acting a little weird, and their traditional Santa Claus, or the guy they were supposed to get that year, couldn't do it, and they're like, "Oh, we'll get the new kid." It's like it's the worst thing you could have done is put this guy in a Santa Claus outfit, and they do.
And then when they close on Christmas Eve, they make him drink alcohol.
They make him drink alcohol.
Yeah. Oh, you better drink. You got to be drinking now.
Stick with me, kid. You won't even remember anything by tomorrow.
Again, now, there's humor in the film, but again, the point is, it isn't played like a Freddy film, like a Nightmare on Elm Street, where there's a lot of, or the later ones. The first one wasn't that kind of comedy. It's not played for laughs, even though there's dark humor when he comes out behind the tree with the axe when the kid's sledding and it's like takes the head off. Yeah, it's funny, but it's not like do. You know, it's not. There's not a wink at the camera. It's still pretty gruesome and pretty straightforward as this is a bad thing. And again, the fact that the film walks you through the emotional torture of this child and how he becomes the adult, or the twisted adult that he becomes, it really lends a seriousness to the whole concept. And I think that's what bothered them the most, is that the film didn't just give a wink and a nod and say, "Oh, aren't we just being naughty?" It was like, yeah, all right, here's a kid, he's traumatized, there's some horrible things that happened to him. It had that 1970s exploitation feel, which a lot of the horror films that were coming out in the 80s were abandoning for the kind of just tongue-in-cheek camp.
This is also very true.
That you saw later with the later, when Nightmare on Elm Street became the goofy special effects extravaganza it was, and when Friday the 13th stopped taking itself seriously and just started making wacky deaths, everyone. And when he goes out of his way at the end of that to say, "Well, because you think it'd be funny," I says, "Really, Gene? Why? Why would you funny? Why would you think why would you immediately assume a Killer Santa Claus film would be funny?" So I blame that. I mean, I think the film's well for what the film is, a low budget horror film. It's well written to an extent. Again, let's not gloss over. It was thrown together in a rush. Dialogue's not exactly
for an 80s slasher film. Personally, I think it still holds up.
And the fact that it seemed like somebody was taking it seriously when they made it, it comes through. It did. So, I've always liked it. That's why I chose to write the article on that for the anthology. All
right. Do we want to rate this now?
Yeah. And let's go back and rate the original too.
Okay.
All right, the
original is rated a little higher on IMDb.
The original's at 5.7.
Okay.
I'm happy with this film at a 5.
The original?
It's got its production value weaknesses, and again, I like the film, but just because it has like a serious element to it that works doesn't mean it's the best written thing. So, it's iconic. I'm happy with a 5. A 6 might be pressing it, but I don't mind going to 6.
I would go 6 on Silent Night, Deadly Night, just because I do think, for what it's worth, the acting and the writing and just the way the story is told, I think it still holds up as a good 80s slasher film. There's a lot worse. Naughty. How about when he's first in the Santa Claus outfit and the girl's sitting on his lap and they pan in and he's like, you've been naughty, haven't you? It's like, what? You're a fucking creep. And she's like squirming in his lap, and it's very uncomfortable. It's like he's what's wrong with this guy? And it's like, and they pan over to the parents. He's so good with kids. He really knows how to talk to him. And then good old Ira in the back, he's like, yeah, he's pretty good. I'm glad I hired him.
Can't wait to get him liquored up later.
So I would give it a 6. I think it's worth a 6. Nothing higher.
Yeah. No, I agree. Just because it for what it is, it's like I Spit on Your Grave. I think it's an iconic film. I'm not going to give it higher than like a 5 or a 6.
No, I
just
agree.
because of production value, etc. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, let's tell everyone how they can get in touch with us.
Stop. Cut the music.
What?
Cut the music. I was going to take a moment and just say from the heart that Joey and I and everybody else here at Moviesucktastic, which is pretty much Joey and I, do want to wish all of our listeners a happy holiday. And even though I myself am waging a war on Christmas, which I go into detail in the Strangers in a Strange Land podcast, we do wish you and your family a great holiday. Spend it with people you love. And hopefully you'll have us around listening to us in the meantime. And it's also been a great pleasure and honor to have yet another year just shooting the shit with Joey about bad movies and having you guys listening and occasionally chiming in too.
That's beautiful, man.
Isn't it? And usually I'm an asshole, so it's nice.
The feeling is mutual. I agree with everything Scott said. Absolutely. However you spend your holidays, just do it, in your own way. Have fun, and that's all that matters. Spend it with your family, your friends, your dog. It doesn't matter.
Well, a little less love for the dog. And also, I want to put out something to you that we don't make any money off Moviesucktastic. Obviously, this is a labor of love. Obviously,
I'm in a Batman T-shirt.
It's our gift to you, and if you feel generous and in the giving mood, and again, we don't not like the other podcasts out there. We don't ask you to buy stuff. We don't ask you to donate. We don't ask you to subscribe. We put no money into the show. We just do it, and we have full-time jobs on top of it. So we're not asking you to support our show. This is what we do. If we didn't do it for you, we'd still be spending the time talking about bad movies anyway. It's just nice that you're there too.
That's absolutely true.
If you do want to return the favor, if you want to give a gift back to Moviesucktastic, do us a favor. Go to iTunes, rate us, and review us. Just let people know that you're grateful that we're here. And that's the best way you can say thanks to Joey and maybe thanks to Scott for just being entertaining every now and then. That's all.
I think we're a little more often than that, but I agree. I like it.
Yeah. So please, our gift to you is the show. If you feel in the giving mood, give us a good review on iTunes just so other people can find the show too. And I'm going to stop wasting time here and Joey can play the music again.
Sounds good to me. All right. Just like Scott said, you can go to iTunes. Please review us. In lieu of donating, reviews. We love those. You can download them all there. You can download them all at our website at moviesucktastic.com. You can listen to them live there. You can watch the live stream feed from there as well. You can leave us voicemail at 908-514-4470. You can leave us email at themovieguys@moviesucktastic.com. And we highly recommend doing both of those. So,
yep.
I don't know what we're reviewing next week. As far as we're going to do okay, never mind. We just said that. I do the show, and sometimes I'm not paying attention. Holy shit. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Hey, there is no Santa Claus. Bye. Well, there's not. I mean, I'm not like making it up.
Yeah, but all right. Maybe there might be a family, a father and a son. Albeit, I think it's rare. They may listen to the show together.
If there's a 7-year-old listening to this show, they're fucked as it is.
Santa Jim.
Yes. All the praise Santa Jim. Yeah.
All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.